This course is about marketing strategies that impact revenue. Many claims have been made about marketing programs that positively impact the bottom line, but I think that all of us have had the experience of John Wanamaker over 100 years ago that not all marketing programs fulfill the promise for which we began them. And secondly, despite, in my case, millions spent marketing our practice over the last 27 years, I have metrics that tell me ROI, but what I can't have metrics about is how these various strategies feed on each other, and the removal of one of them could actually harm the success of another. So today we're in a new era where more metrics are available, and we will focus today on what metrics we do have available, but keep in mind that it's that interaction that we're also trying to understand. And reviews have a very special place in this discussion. I'm sorry, my slide is not advancing there for reasons known only. Okay. This is a very enticing title. Reviews are the new advertising. And trend watching in 2008, so 7 years ago, predicted the power of reviews as a form of advertising. And I don't think they predicted at that point the ubiquitous use of smartphones, or that conversations would disappear and people would sit together and rather than talk to one another, they would interact with their devices. Consumers have many choices. Smart practices adjust the way they sell to the way that consumers want to buy. So what can we figure out about how consumers want to buy? Let's go to the data. From 2011 to 2014, consumer use of reviews grew from 12%, and that was a Pew Research statistic, to 88% today, which is a Bright Local statistic. When we founded Real Patient Ratings in 2011, we believed that reviews and use of reviews would become much more important in medicine. And our own statistics, asking consumers about reviews in our new SPA module, shows that there is a range from 40 to 60% of users, consumers are telling us that they are using reviews. But in most cases, practices are not using reviews as a selling strategy, and we think this number can be increased and indeed should be increased in medicine. Reviews are not only content, but they are a conversion strategy. So Google in 2013 said 70% of Americans say they look at reviews before taking the next step to conversion. And from Nielsen, 70% take action after reading consumer opinions posted online. So if you're looking for ways to accelerate consumer decision making, then reviews clearly are an important strategy that's available. Now, what also happens with reviews is it has changed the buying process and put the consumer in charge. And so they do more on their own, and this is how a consumer decision is made. And so in that total set, and let's say this is a cosmetic surgery decision, then in the total set are all the potential providers. In the awareness set are those sets of providers that they have heard of at some point. That narrows to the consideration set, and this is a set that is too large for on-site consultations, but not for phone calls. And so phone calls and emails are sent to those practices that are in the consideration set, and based on their responses, the choice set is made. But it's important for you to know that without reviews, it's much harder for you to get from that consideration set to the choice set. And because the consumer needs reviews, increasingly demands reviews in order to move you into the next category. And that is that group whereby the consumer will have on-site consults, and then they will make a choice, a decision out of this group. Now here's another way to look at that same process. And so the consumer begins with online procedure research. Meanwhile, they have offline conversations with friends and family, coworkers about the procedure and provider. They then go into doctor type, say plastic surgeon plus the word reviews. And then they narrow to the actual physician plus reviews, and all of this may well occur before they contact your office or before they physically come to your office for certain, and then they make their choice. Now, each of these steps forward into that smaller, narrower group is about conversions. And what drives conversions is satisfaction with the information or service that they're receiving. And so we take whatever we're doing to drive leads, we put them into our sales funnel, which is effectively the practice itself. And out of that comes the purchasers of our services. Now, what we're going to do here, I also want to talk about conversions as it's the definition, it's the percent of users who take a desired action. So Eva is going to take over here in a minute, and she is going to talk to you about visitors and the completion of contact forms and the impact on your revenue. And then I will pick up after Eva, and I will continue to talk about the conversions within the practice.
Great. Thanks, Marie. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
All right. So not only does your user have to trust you in person to convert or make a decision, Google also has to trust you. And so how do you get more conversions from your website, and how do you get Google to trust you? There are thousands, literally, of tiny details that contribute to increasing someone's overall conversion rate online. But the one we're focused on specifically is user-generated content. This is any kind of content created and shared by your patients on your website, or I think it even includes content about your patients. So that means thank you notes, reviews. You could make a case for your before and after photos being in this category, because even though the photos were taken by you and put on the website by you, they're a powerful representation of your patient's experience from beginning to end. And if you include the patient's story alongside the before and after photo, it gets even more powerful. I like how they do this in bariatric surgery marketing, because the people are fully dressed, and so it's different, but it's still just as powerful, because that before and after goes with a really incredible story of transformation for a lot of these people. And so we want to try and have as much content on your website that represents your patient's journey as you can possibly get, because it builds trust. It builds trust with the future patients visiting your website, and it confirms the decision making of people who've heard about you from their friends or their family. Trust is the key to turning a web visitor into a lead. And to get a conversion online, you have to have a number of factors in place to establish enough trust to get that person to contact you. Now, in every field or industry, there's going to be a statistically valid average number of people who will give you a 5, 4, 3, 2, or a 1, no matter what you do. And this is a little bit like school. So no matter how great the teacher is, some kids are going to get an F and some are going to get an A or a perfect score, but most of them are going to fall in the middle, and that's just real life. Over the years of doing SEO, many have tried to fool Google into ranking them and failed, because Google has an army of statisticians, and those statisticians know there's absolutely no such thing in real life as a perfect 5.0 rating. And people know this too, because it's just not realistic. So I put myself in Google's shoes and I asked the question, would you write an algorithm for rankings that rewarded the highest rated product or service? Or would you reward the site that delivers the most trustworthy content and information to its users? Every update that Google has made to its algorithm over the last 10 years has been moving toward a system that rewards trust and truthfulness. And so I believe this is the future of SEO, and this is why we also believe here at Real Patient Ratings that statistical validity is the future of online ratings. So if that's the future, to be trusted by Google and to be trusted by people, you actually don't want to be a 5.0. When you're looking at your ratings online on any website, you have to understand that Google won't believe it if you have all 5.0s. If you have only 3 reviews and they all happen to be a 5, that's pretty believable because there's not that many there. But if you have 40 or even 20 or 100 or 500 and they're all 5s, it gets more unbelievable the more you have. So the flip side to this is that if you add ratings and reviews to your own website, it's like holding up a megaphone and yelling to Google, "You can trust me," as long as those reviews are real. But you have to be really careful because you have to back it up with real reviews and actual content that match the ratings. So along with that whole not fooling Google thing, you can't just put a rating up there and walk away and say, "I'm awesome." You have to link it to the real reviews that belong to the rating, or you'll frustrate the people who are trying to read them and it will backfire because Google won't trust you. So I like to say that reviews are like magic. This is just a few of the things that happen when you put reviews on your own website. They increase the time on site because they're more interesting. So people spend a lot longer time hanging around on your website. That's called engagement, and it helps with rankings and conversions. Reviews speed up the amount of time people take to make a decision or pick up the phone and call you. Reviews decrease the bounce rate, which also helps Google trust your site. They make your site fresh and interesting. They make you more attractive in search results. And when combined with a rating, when you have reviews with a rating, that's the ideal situation because the mathematical information and the emotional information together push people to make a decision quicker. Now, there's a company called Bazaar Voice, Bazaar, not like shopping, not like weird. And Bazaar Voice powers reviews on the largest companies in America, like Sephora or Dell, Overstock.com, Rubbermaid, Friskies. The list goes on and on. They're everywhere, and no one really knows their name because they're software. So Bazaar Voice has studied millions of transactions over the years, and they have more data about online consumer buying behavior than anyone in the world, maybe besides Google. And so they are out there publishing case study after case study to help us figure out what kind of content helps people make a buying decision more quickly so that you can increase your sales online. And what they found recently was really stunning. When reviews were added to a product page across a variety of categories in e-commerce, like men's clothes, women's clothes, shoes, bed and bath, and beauty. In every case, it had a positive impact on the the sales that were generated in that category. In beauty, the increase in sales was 56%, which is our customer. That's the same demographic that we're looking for in cosmetic surgery. So we take this as a cue. They also looked at which of these two factors had a bigger effect on sales. Was it an increase in rating? Did they go from 4.6 to 4.7, for instance? Or was it an increase in the quantity of reviews? And hands down, the quantity of reviews had a much more powerful impact on sales, and that resulted in a 111% increase in conversions, where the change in rating only had the effect of increasing sales by 2%. So that tells us not to worry about the number of the rating, but to worry about the quantity of reviews that we have available to us from our customers. And then they also looked at, does the effect of having more reviews drop off at some point? And I've heard surgeons say to me from time to time, I have enough reviews, I don't need any more reviews. Very rarely do I hear that. Usually it's the opposite, actually. But Bizarre Voice found that when more reviews continued to be generated by the customer, it continued to infinitely increase the effect on sales. There was no drop off. So they like to say over there that more is more. And I think they say that pretty well. So quantity, not rating. Reviews also have the amazing effect of making you very competitive in a noisy space. This, as an SEO person, is the greatest competitive advantage that I've seen online in many, many years. So in this example that I ran into yesterday, actually, I pretended by using Google's AdWords preview tool that I was in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I searched for just the word liposuction. And the site with the reviews on it, the practice website, appeared in the 4th organic position in the whole world, next to sites like Wikipedia and plasticsurgery.org and liposuction.com. And so where would you click? I would go straight to the star rating, and I would be done looking at this point. It is an extraordinary advantage to be the only actual local search result with a star rating and a review in a sea of national websites. So how is this happening? It's because that site has something unique that none of the others have. And I think what Google's looking for the most is that uniqueness combined with trustworthiness. And so across all of cosmetic medicine, I think here's where I say, Houston, we have a problem. Because from both the search engine and the consumer point of view, nearly all the written content out there, it sounds the same, and it's pretty boring. Google is looking for a way to differentiate between all of these choices that are pretty much the same. And I think if you look at your fellow surgeons or your competitor's website in your area, don't you ever have the feeling that everyone's doing the same thing and feel frustrated that you can't figure out how to do it better? Reviews give you the advantage of uniqueness, and that is the thing Google loves the most. So when you put all of these factors together, this is what it looks like. This is an example of a procedure page where they have social proof. They've written it in a friendly voice. They include the cost information. You can see there's a lot of photos to look at. There are reviews to read, and you can contact the practice instantly. And all of this is basically fitting into one screen. And they've experienced the incredible positive effects of doing things this way because their leads, the amount of conversions they get from their site has gone up 85% year over year, almost doubling in the number of people who've contacted this practice because of the combination of all these changes they've made. I was telling Marie earlier today why I like counting conversions in a ratio versus a percent, and I actually have been thinking about this for quite some time. If you look at your conversion rate online, the usual number you'll see is something like 1% or 2%, which means 1% of your visitors fill out a form. Well, 1% of visitors isn't the same as people. So I've always preferred to calculate my conversion ratios as a ratio. So what you're looking at here is that same website translated a different way. And in 2012, 1 in 50 visitors filled out a form on their site. And back then they had their reviews only on one page of their site. And then a year later, they had so many reviews that they had to figure out what to do with them all. So they put them on each doctor's profile, and their conversion rate increased to 1 in 34. And then in the third year, they had so many more reviews in one more year that they had to figure out what to do with them. So they started filtering them by procedure and adding them to their procedure pages, which you saw in the previous example. And their conversion rate increased to 1 in 23. So if this is you, this is a simple little measurement you can ask for from your web company if you don't know your online conversion rate. Take a whole year like 2014 and say how many visitors from your area did your website get, which should be a number in the many, many thousands. Filter to your metro area because it cuts out all the unqualified traffic, and then divide it by the number of leads you got. So for instance, if you had 5,000 visitors and got 100 leads, your ratio would be 1 in 50, which is about the average across the country. And the highest converting websites I've seen have a ratio of in the neighborhood of 1 in 20. So if your ratio is on the other end, like 1 in 100, then there needs to be some serious in-depth analysis done of your site and why that's happening to you. So this ratio is actually very similar to how many consults closed a surgery. Do 50% of your consults book surgery? And so when we look at numbers for practices, both online and in the office, we then try to find parts of the process that can be improved or optimized to help you convert more leads from the traffic that you're already getting. So to recap, before I hand this back to Marie to talk about some of the really special things that she's doing in her office with the reviews, I just want to say one more time that it's all about trust, and that content generated by your patients or specifically about your patients, including reviews, photos, prices, and authentic thank you cards and patient stories, and also social media, are the secret to converting more leads using reviews online. So let's go back to Marie.
So I think that I hope you see that this is that communication has revolutionized. So has our marketplace, so must our marketing, and now so must our implementation. And yet we can still look to the past for great advice. And here is the advice from the founder of Hershey's at the turn of the last century: give them quality. That is the best form of marketing in the world. But many people do not have good sales systems in place, or they don't have software that enables them to craft a consumer experience and then to implement it according to a proven strategy. And if you don't have customer relationship management software, software that is capable of staging the patients, setting to-do list items for them, then this is a key element of your internal infrastructure that I don't believe you can live without. So I want to go back to the concept of the unique visitors that come to your website. And a large crowd of visitors arrive, but then only a group of those people actually do call or do send an email. And the proficiency with which most practices handle that is unfortunately pretty sad. So in call to a surgery, the average conversion rate that we saw when I was at Mentor Solutions and in Informed Solutions was the practices were operating on 18% of incoming callers. And the percent of contact forms that they were operating on was even lower. 13.2% is the industry average, according to Ryan Miller at Aetna. So when you look at that kind of statistics and you're saying, I'm throwing away 5 people for every 1 person that I get, or in the case of contact forms, I'm throwing away 7 for every 1 I get, that really should alarm you, because it costs you money to drive every one of those phone calls and every one of those contact forms. So we look to Michael Dell, and this is a marvelous quote. It's as important to figure out what you're not going to do as it is what you are going to do. And looking at whatever your current strategy is, and if your statistics are matching these that I'm quoting, then what isn't working and what could you do to change the outcome? And of course, the incentives are really there. If we are able to take an 18% telephone conversion rate and change it to 24, then we are increasing our number of cases done by 33%. The same is true of taking the contact form statistic of 13% and increasing that to 18%, and there you have over 40% increase in conversions. And this is not going out and buying new activity. This is just simply taking what's coming to you and dealing with it in a more respectful way, considering the investment involved and the time involved for everyone. And ultimately, the best practices are operating on 50% of incoming callers and 25% of contact forms. And you will find abundance and perhaps more work than you can do if you are able to achieve these rates. So how can reviews help you? Well, first of all, I think most practices have a pretty bad attitude about emails. They don't take these people seriously. They don't follow up as quickly. There's misconceptions about their intent to buy. In fact, I do many things online, much of my buying, as do other people, particularly on products, on websites. And people become used to being able to make significant progress online in a purchase decision. So what are the benefits of having reviews in your office? One, it verifies the quality by actual consumers of your service. And so what we say about ourselves, it's Eva's point, is marketing. What others say about us is social proof. In a touch point strategy within a CRM system, reviews offer new touch points. And so you may have things in your responses to an inquiry or responses to an appointment being made that you're questioning whether those are really valid anymore. And so reviews offer a way for you to have a new touch point. And I've seen them do the following 3 things: reduce no-shows, build confidence before consultation, and increasing scheduling. And it's shortening the buying cycle overall. It certainly increases referrals. And also, reviews do give you some insight into service issues that you can change to change your future in a positive way. So let's look, and these are the the purple quote, "The parking situation is absolutely horrible," is a quote actually from a review in my practice. And we do have a terrible parking situation, which has been made even worse by construction. And so what do we do with this information? We're going to improve our directions, tell people what they're going to face, give them tips for where to park and which elevators to use. And then every visit involved at least 30 minutes of waiting. This is from another practice, but there's a direct correlation, unfortunately, inverse correlation. The more people wait, the less likely they are to buy from you. And that consult waiting is particularly deadly because they presume that that's going to be the waiting involved for every single one of their visits in your practice. Secondly, we also have alerts, and when patients are filling out surveys, we ask them, did you have a problem? Was it resolved to your satisfaction? If not, would you like to have the practice contact you? And the patient comes out of an anonymity and provides name, address, and email. And what this alert is saying from the patient is they haven't gone to a website to post a negative review about you, despite having a problem with your practice that they consider to be unresolved. So they are open to a private resolution of whatever their issue is. And I would urge you to follow up with these and to find out ways to solve them and ways to prevent them going forward. So now we want to amplify the reviews that we do have. So how are we going to do that? One is you can send out links to your reviews, and this could be the practice review, the physician or provider review, the procedure review. We try to get the provider review sent in a special email, a text email, to all of our patients before they come. And we have seen they feel more connected with us. They'll come in saying, I feel like I already know you. If you have TouchMD, you can have the Real Patient Ratings review feed right into your TouchMD program, and when a person arrives for consultation, as you orient them to looking at before and afters, you can also orient them to looking at the reviews if they haven't seen them. And then you can add them to your other marketing, and I'm going to show you some examples of that. We did a study with UCLA with about 2.5 million questions answered by patients. And what we were asking them was to tell us what things correlated most highly with likelihood to schedule. And so what they told us on pre-consult materials is that those people who did not receive any forms or materials, received registration forms only, or a link to the website, were 27% less likely to schedule than those who received printed brochures and reviews. So this is very significant information in telling us that getting that review information to our patients prior to consult will increase likelihood to schedule at consult. And again, this is based on about 40,000 reviews, surveys, I should say. Now, scheduling rate when read reviews. So if you look at this list, these are the choices of what did they receive, what did they receive prior to coming to the practice. And what we see here is those who did not receive any forms or materials, likelihood to schedule was 39%, while those who received patient testimonials, of which reviews is a category, were than scheduled at 55%. Now here's a couple quotes. Dr. Saltz and Ruth were amazing. They were professional and fun. They gave me great input and answered all my questions. Now we have launched a skincare module as well, and so this is looking at our practices laser and skincare center. And so what you'll see here is then we can provide links to each of these individual providers' reviews in the non-surgical. And here's a non-surgical comment, a Juvederm review for one of our PAs. And so these go out with their appointments as well. So now, are you ready to use some dependable, authenticated feedback to market and grow your business? Looking again to Bazaar Voice, who have enormous experience, this is what they were reporting. Put reviews in your ads, 35% increase in click-through. Add reviews in your social media, 78% increase in buy now behavior. Add reviews to eBlasts, 193% increase in click-throughs, and add to website, what we just showed with Eva, 79% increase in conversion. Now, I respect Bazaar Voice incredibly, and when Bazaar Voice presents information like this to me, my immediate response is to use their advice and to go out and see if I can manifest these same kinds of numbers. So we're in the midst in San Diego of the last 6 years. We've had a contest with the Union Tribune newspaper for the best. And so there's a nomination phase and then there's a voting phase. So this is the first year. Based on that, we added reviews. And so we're saying nominate us. We have 27 years of happy patients, but what does that mean? How does that translate into patient satisfaction today? So we have 4.70 overall score on 1,131 ratings, and this was a prorated average from Google, Yelp, Real Patient Ratings, Real Self, and Vitals. And these ads are running this coming Sunday, so I'm very interested to see how people are going to respond to it. And then for our med spa, we're doing the same thing. It also was the winner in its category, and so we've added 96.6 patient satisfaction based on 233 ratings. So you can see that this social proof can be added very effectively to advertising, and I urge you all to begin to take Bazaar Voice's advice. And now Eva and I are available to answer questions for you.
Thanks, Marie. I don't have any questions in the question box yet, so if you have any, now is the time. We want to hear from you guys out there. What did we miss? What do you need us to clarify? What can we tell you more about reviews today? I guess maybe nobody's listening today. No, that's not true. There's lots of people out there. Your burning questions about reviews. I think everybody wants to get back to work.
Well, what are some of the questions we've been asked in previous sessions? Maybe we can answer those.
How would you market your reviews with videos? Oh, good. Here come the questions. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so I will answer the video question, and Marie, I think you probably have some different ideas than I do. Every time I get a video testimonial from a patient, I actually call it a video review, and I write about it that way. And then I take the entire video that where they say how they feel about you, and I type the whole thing up and put it into the description. So if you call it a video review and you write it up like a review, and then you put it on YouTube and it's called a review, and then you put the word review in the tags, you actually can get videos to show up in search results as video reviews. And so that's one great way to take all that video content that a lot of you probably already have and use it to leverage the power of reviews. And do you have any ideas about
Well,
videos?
I would just use them in the labels or that you put on the slides or in the opening, the little opening that you do. I would just add them to that. Is that clear?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So Marie's saying we would take comments from reviews and put them into our videos as titles or
Well,
subtitles.
when we on our videos, on the front of our videos, we have a little, few second thing with the name of the practice and sometimes a picture of a room or something that's happening.
Mhm.
And I would just say within that, you could also put a little star. Yeah, you can put labels on things, put a little star rating as a part of that.
Link to read your reviews from the end of
Right,
your videos.
right, exactly. That would be great.
Yep, the sky's the limit. Okay, the next question is, do you give incentives to get reviews and how?
Uh, we give an incentive to take a survey, which is allowed, and so the practice has a choice whether to do it or not. So I give $25 on a um, a, a purchase of $100 or more, and then their patient is asked, and there's no gift for this, which because it would be a violation of terms, is would you allow your anonymous comments to be posted as a rating and review? And about 2/3 overall of patients who take the survey agree to do that. And interestingly, of those patients who are highly satisfied, over 90% of those patients allow their comments to be left as a review.
Hmm. Can we give coupons to people who provide reviews? I think the issue is with incentives and coupons is that when they're only given to people who are going to give you a good review, then it becomes an ethics violation. So there has to be a give and a get. If you want to thank somebody, you can certainly do that. But leaving out some of the patients is where people start running into trouble. And incentivizing the writing of reviews by giving people monetary gifts or gift cards gets pretty sticky.
Well, especially if you're only choosing the happy patients.
Hmm.
So the danger of that is it's misleading to consumers, and so having an anonymous ask with no consequences of saying no is, we believe, the safest and best way to do it for the practice and for the consumer who's trusting these reviews.
You know, at my dentist, they ask you at the end if you write a review, we'll put you in a drawing to win a Sonicare toothbrush. And I wonder if that's one way to include everybody. And so you would say you'd win a box of Latisse for all the people who wrote a review this week and we see your review go online. Um, I have to look into it further, but there's a lot of ethical uh, considerations to be made around saying thank you with items or with gift cards.
Right.
Um,
Be very careful.
how do you get all these reviews on Google and Yahoo where they matter the most?
Well, I think, first of all, that the supposition of your question is that those are the places that do matter the most. I submit that where the reviews matter the most is actually on your own website, where your consumer is coming hopefully to move deeper into a buying cycle with you. And while I think you still, and we actively work in our practice to get reviews on Yelp and Google Plus, the reviews that help us the most are clearly those which are being fed onto our website by Real Patient Ratings. And I actually find this to be the strongest sales or marketing strategy, other, in my 27 years of experience here.
I think we're honing in on what the percentage of your patients is that will actually break their anonymity and go reveal their identity on Google or Yelp or any of those sites where they're required to be who they really are. And I right now I know that it's less than 5% of patients will do that. Actually, my hypothesis is that it's more like 1%, but I'm working towards getting a number that I'm confident about. What we do know is that very few of your patients will actually do this because they don't want the world to know, and they don't really trust Google with the information when they're asked to share something this personal in a venue that public. It just is really difficult for them. So as we kind of move into the future, there's more places where they're safe and anonymous to write reviews, and we're trying to, including our own, make those sources more powerful than the other ones so that the other sources don't have this kind of power over our practice marketing that they currently do. We want all the content to be for you and not sending your patients to write reviews on other sites where those sites own the content.
Though I will say we did a study with Google Plus and Real Patient Ratings, and across our entire client base. And what we found was the ratings accuracy on Google Plus was within 0.2% of the verified ratings coming through RPR, which we know are absolutely valid. But as Eve is saying, the problem is to go and give you a rating on Google Plus, a patient must be willing to go public with their own story. And
awesome. Thank you for all the questions, everybody. If you have any other ones, we're available anytime. You can just email us, info@realpatientratings.com. And we thank you for joining us today. And we hope that you have a great rest of the week and a good weekend. And happy Easter.
thank you. And just remember, those reviews can turn into real dollars. Have a good week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.